Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Phantasm. If you're looking for a horror movie that's got balls, it's found you.
Written and directed by Don Coscarelli, starring Reggie Bannister, A. Michael Baldwin, Bill Thornbury, and Angus Scrimm as the tall man. This movie's about Mike, who's following his older brother Jody around, and he happens to spy on him when he's having sex in a cemetery. After seeing a great set of boobs,
Wow.
he's then scared off by a dwarf in a hood. He returns to the cemetery to investigate, and he finds there's more to this funeral home than meets the eye. This is actually a request from Patreon. James Montgomery, who won our monthly movie raffle, recommended this. A lot of other people have also recommended this, and genuinely, this is not a series I've ever seen before. But James gave us the push, and here we are. Let's get into our likes.
I absolutely love the soundtrack of this film. It just adds to the atmosphere, and as you're watching it, it makes the film feel more tense and more creepy.
The whole tone and atmosphere to me kind of almost felt like Halloween 3, which is very strange because that's more like Halloween oriented, but the whole like creeping around, sleuthing, spying. It just felt more like a spy movie to me. I like the tall man. He's just this big, lanky, lurch-looking dude. He's kind of awkward, if I'm being honest.
I've been waiting for you.
If you were across the street and you saw this guy just like slowly turn, I'd be scared shitless. I'd be running.
He's got that tall man strut to him, you know? Like he's got the power walk where like his shoulders are like moving and his legs are just like overtaking each step.
Right, it's like if Vince McMahon was slightly taller.
This film just had an atmosphere to it, and I think that's the best part about it. Whether it's through the soundtrack or the locations, it's just you are focused on what you're seeing around you and what you're hearing.
Yeah, the mausoleum has like these really long corridors, and even just like the idea of them, knowing that all these squares on the walls have people behind them, dead people, or at least they should. They might be being turned into little dwarfs that are slaves in a different realm. Who knows? But it just looks too clean, and you know that something's up. I like Mike. As weird as he was because he was consistently following his older brother, I thought that was like a really strange thing for him to do. I did like him because he was ballsy, and he's smart, and he's just trying to figure out what's happening. He makes that makeshift shotgun for no reason, even though a hammer could just bust down that door. Why not? Reggie Bannister, also pretty fun. He didn't have as big as a role as I thought he did, considering I know who he is and I know he's the star of this movie. I thought he would have a way bigger role, or at least have like more importance, but when he was around, it was enjoyable, especially when he's doing those little licks on the untuned guitar. The other big aspect that people know from the Phantasm series is this ball thing. I do not know the name. I'm sure there's a name. Don't hate me for not knowing it. But I thought it was cool. The single kill that we get with it looks great. It attaches to a guy's face, blood spills all over the place. Mind you, it looks like Tang on the ground. It looked cool when it happened. Now, what didn't we like?
I wasn't a fan of the story. It was just kind of all over the place, and to try and figure out what is actually going on, what is real, what is a dream, is this whole movie a dream? There's clearly more to this film than what you actually see, but it can be confusing just to like put on and watch.
Most of the time is genuinely just Mike walking around with binoculars or fixing cars or doing something that doesn't really matter. And then you don't really get a quality reason as to why anything is happening. These little Jawa fellas, they're slaves in a different dimension. You don't know anything about this dimension. You don't know if the dimension is real. You don't know anything really about anything. Who is the tall man? I know a lot of people will probably say, well, that's great. That's the mystery of it. Come on. In this movie, there's not a lot to walk away with because you don't know what's happened, and the ending sucks dick.
It just kind of like leaves you with the idea that this film is only about coping with death. That is pretty much it.
And it's not like as smart as I think it was intended to be. Because this did come out in '79, you know, things have definitely changed a little bit since then. And so maybe at the time, maybe it was scary. But we didn't have, like, this is our first time watching it. 2018. First thoughts. Not a fan.
And to play off the confusion, I think the editing style of this film also adds to it, because they're constantly cutting back and forth in between what could be a dream sequence, what could be a reality. Characters who you think are dead are all of a sudden in the next scene. It's it just keeps your head scratching like, all right, what is actually going on here?
I don't know. I think the whole dream thing is a super cop-out. But again, this is like before that became like a shitty trope, right? So these guys are the OG shit starters. No, Wizard of Oz is.
But it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you were there.
Seeing the cover, seeing people talk about this ball with the spikes. It's in this movie for like 2 scenes total. It does one cool kill, and then it gets shot out of the air. That's it. There's no purpose to it. And the tall man, he doesn't do a lot.
He's just tall.
He's just a tall man, and he just walks and lurks around. Like, I don't know why the tall man is this great villain. Like, he's on top 10 list for being one of the best villains of all time.
No.
I don't see it. And same with like that ball thing. I don't know.
At the time, it's cool. You see it once, and that's that. Yeah, I get it. But we've come a long way in 40 years that we've now need to like realize that some stuff may have been cool at the time. It's not necessarily cool now.
Or like well done. Like the camera work is well done, and it looked like it had a decent budget, but I mean the story was not well done. It was all over the place. There's just like one-off clips. Why'd Mike go to get one seance one time for no reason? Why was there a disappearing box? Just so that he could overcome his fear later on? That's a Deus Ex Machina situation, which is like backwards because it happens early on. But like it never is referenced again. There's like all these one-off situations that just like are just thrown together.
They bring Mike to the girls, and then all of a sudden Mike's like, no, we gotta go. I gotta go save Jody, who's just chilling at the house. It's just like they keep going somewhere, and then Mike's just rashly going back. And no one's stopping him. He's supposed to be the kid here. Like, everyone in this movie is a pretty bad adult.
Yeah, Mike is the kid who is walking around watching his brother bang. He's driving cars. He's drinking beers.
Breaking and entering, carrying lethal weapons, stabbing people.
Oh yeah, he slept on the stairs with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Safe. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I'm gonna be honest, wasn't a fan of this movie. As much as I've heard like great things about it, and it constantly gets high ratings when I see him on Letterboxd, this didn't have a lot for me. I did like Mike, and I thought he was funny because he's basically a grown man detective living in a 14-year-old's body. The story is just kind of all over the place. It seems like there's all these one-off micro situations that don't add up to anything, and the end just is terrible. I absolutely hated the ending of this film. You get no closure for anything, and I just don't think it's a good investment of time. I did, however, like the soundtrack, and I can appreciate that this could have been scary back in the day. But as a first-time viewer, I don't think the modern audience is going to appreciate this film, so I'm going to give this 1.5 Superflies out of 5.
I can understand how this film receives its cult following because it does have elements that people would appreciate. It did a few things in its generation that were a first, so yes, I'll give it its praise for that. But watching it now, it's really not that good. We don't really have a lot going on, and it's more confusing than it is interesting. Though the tall man is cool and Mike is a strong character, there's just not enough to tie the two in together because we have a lot of one-off situations, and Jody just kind of goes along with the ride. The soundtrack is probably the best part of this movie. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 1 finger in a box out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, check out the rewards in our Patreon link in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.